Okay, this is the video tutorial that goes with lesson 6.3, which is using algebra tiles. Before class starts, I like to put up a few reminders from things we did in the previous couple of lessons. So remember, when we're multiplying, we're going to add exponents here. So 3 add 5 is 8. And as this says 7 and 7, as we've got exponents with these, though, we will just do 2 add 4, which is 6. Notice I did not do 7 times 7 because I'm multiplying something with an exponent, and we just add the exponents when that happens. Now, if we have a combination of those, though, certainly we can multiply numbers with numbers. 3 times 5 is just 15, because there's no exponents here. Now, if there is no exponent on a particular letter, remember you can put a 1 here if that helps, and then 1 add 5 would give you 6. When we divide, we subtract exponents. 12 divided by 6, that's just your regular division, 2. If you have the same exponent, technically 2 take away 2 is 0. If you have the same, you just cancel those out. So essentially there is no x within this answer. And 7 minus 6 would give me 1. And I don't need to put the exponent of 1. I could just put 2y. Now, last lesson we looked at addition and subtraction of polynomials. Main thing is just collecting like terms together. So things with x squareds, and I've tried to put different colors here to show you which are like terms. We can certainly combine those. We just look at the coefficients. If there is no number at the start, remember that means it's 1, so this would be 1x squared. So 5 take away 1 is 4, x squared. I'm not adding exponents here because I'm not multiplying, I'm actually subtracting. Positive 3x, take away negative 7x. Any of those we're not sure of, just use a calculator. That's 10 or positive 10. And positive 2, take away positive 1 would be positive 1. Notice how I did on each of these highlight the sign in front of the term as well. That's really important that we don't think of this as 7x, that we realize actually it's negative 7x because of the subtract sign. So specifically today, we're going to go back and look at algebra tiles. We had a quick look at these last lesson, but nothing too in-depth. So we're going to go back a little bit more today. Before we do that, I just want to re-emphasize one of the problems from last lesson. People tend to just add numbers together or subtract. So people last lesson were often doing 5, add 3, take away 2 is 6. Sometimes they'd put a u in the answer, sometimes they would not. So you can recombine the terms that have the same type of term. So you can certainly do 5 take away 2, because they're numbers, which is 3. And then you could just put add 3u. So 3 plus 3u, or you could put 3u plus 3 as your answer using the commutative rule as well. But you certainly can't add 5 and 3u together. It's certainly not 8, and it's certainly not 8u. 5 add 3 is 8. 5u add 3u is 8u. But you cannot combine these as they're not like terms. We then took a quick look at any questions people had from the homework. We were looking at some questions from the Big Ideas textbook. So the first skill today is to identify what algebra tiles represent. So the ones in blue are going to be positive, the ones in red are going to be negative, but you can also see the negative signs here. So basically, this is just to remind us that we're collecting like terms here again. Same sort of thing we've been doing, really. So how many x squareds? 2. How many x's? Same thing, 2. Positive 2. How many of those little ones there? 3. So plus 3. So we're really just keeping a check of we understand what different tiles represent because they can ask us that on the SOL. So number of x squareds here, I got 3. So 3x squared. This time, notice I've got that different color. You can see the negative here though as well. So you could say it's negative 1x because there's one of them, but you could just say negative x like it says right there. And there's 2 of those little ones, so they're positives. So you could just put positive 2 there as your answer. Second skill is to add and subtract polynomials like you did last lesson. Often they'll give you the picture and often they'll give you the question underneath. So it's that idea of looking for things that are like terms. So certainly we have big squares, rectangles and little squares, and we have similar things over here. So it's reminding ourselves that we can only combine things that are essentially the same here. So on my big squares, and you can see that I highlighted them all here, I have 3 here and I'm going to add 2 more on this side, so 4 and 5. So I would get 5x squared. From the question, you could just look at the terms as well. So x squared, 3 plus 2 equals 5. And that's kind of eventually where we want to get to. But sometimes this helps us just to identify what we're looking for. So the rectangles, I've labeled with the x's here. I got 1, 2, and I'm going to add on 4 more. So 3, 4, 5, 6. So it gives me a total of 6x. And eventually, hopefully, we would just do positive 2, add positive 4 to give us that positive 6. And for the last one, I have 4 on this side. Don't have any actually on this side at all. So that's it, positive 4, and you can put positive 4. If there's nothing to combine, you can just write down exactly what you see to give you that answer. Let's look at one that's a little more complicated. Let's throw in some negative terms this time as well. Some positives over here as well. Still adding at this point. So this picture represents 3x squared plus 3x plus 5. And you could do a similar thing with these terms here if you want to just check that that's correct. So as I'm looking at my x squareds here, as I'm adding something that's a negative, I know that's like a takeaway. So these two things are kind of opposites to each other, which means they're going to cancel out. So this one and this one will cancel. This one and this one will cancel, and I'd actually just get left with 1. So those two cancel, that's why I put them at the bottom here, and I just get left with 1. So that's it, x squared. You can just do 3 add negative 2, which will give you 1 as well. That's perfectly okay. And if I me go back to my ones here, so I got another positive, which I'm adding with a negative, so I know these are opposite, so they'll cancel, and I'll just get left with these 2 at the bottom, which you can see here. So 2 at 2 left, so 2x. And 3 add negative 1 is also 2 if we're trying to do that. Now these I'm just adding together, so I can just go ahead and do that. 5 add 2 gives me 7, and from here as well, 5 plus positive 2 gives me 7. Now subtraction I think is a little bit more difficult with the pictures. So I've set up my question here. I'm going to look at like terms, so I'm going to start with my big squares first. So I have 3, take away, negative, 2 negatives. So remember when we're subtracting negatives, that's like actually adding. So I'm actually going to do 3 add 2, which would give me 5. Notice from the question, it's 3 take away negative 2, and we can use our calculator once again if we're not sure. Moving on to the middle terms, I got negative 2x here, and I've got 3x here. So negative 2 take away 3, I'm getting smaller, so this is going to be negative 5. And hopefully we can eventually do it from here. Now we do have to be careful that we don't just say negative 2 add 3, which gives us 1. Make sure you do negative 2 take away positive 3. So negative 2 take away 3 gives you negative 5. And for the last one, I had negative 4. I got to subtract negative 1, so those 2 negatives are going to give me a positive again. So really this is negative 4 plus 1, which would give me negative 3, sorry. As this turns into a positive, you could cancel it with this one here, and then you just get left with those 3 as well, if you prefer to look at it that way. And then this is the point in the lesson where we tried some questions from IXL. This year it was Z2 and Z3, and you can access that through Canvas, log in through Clever, scroll down, find IXL, and then from there you can click on Learning, Math, and Algebra 1, and then it'll take you. You can go ahead and select Z2. And you can also go ahead and select Z3. And that's it for this video.